Hello, I'm PS3 and welcome back to the video. So one of my favourite things when it comes to both real life and Minecraft is trying to get a lot out of a little. And when it comes to explosives in Minecraft, they're a really expensive thing to place. Whether it's in creative because you have to like manually place all the blocks, or whether it's in survival because you literally have to craft every single TNT block by hand. Making the most out of TNT is something I think is very important, as you've probably learned from my exploding video series. And I think in today's video, why not teach you how to use it a little bit more effectively to make bigger explosions with the same amount of TNT, or indeed with less. So hopefully you do enjoy this video. Like if you do like it, because it helps out the channel a lot, and lets know you do like learning about explosives and stuff. That's probably a dodgy sentence there on the internet, but with that said, let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's start by talking about the kind of key point here, and let's just start with a really easy example of here is 100 TNT. It's a lot of TNT, right? I mean, it doesn't look like quite so much as it is, but that is in fact 100 because it's 5 by 4 by 5. I think that's 100. I'm pretty sure anyway. But yeah, basically this is 100 block of TNT, and you might think that when I detonate this, it's going to do some massive amount of damage, right? Because 100 TNT all in one space. But truth be told, most of the time, I mean, maybe there's something goes crazy wrong, but truth be told, most of the time, if you have an arrangement like that, it's not going to do too much damage at all. As you can see, the hole here, it's fairly significant, like maybe bigger than you might have expected, but for the most part, it's pretty much nothing. I mean, it breached into a cave there too, but it's pretty much nothing. It's just like, 5 blocks down into the ground, or like 20 blocks by 20 blocks, and although that's, like kind of good, I guess, it's not 100 TNT good. Imagine you spent like hours and hours, like, 20 hours of your Minecraft game trying, it's not 20 hours, but like, you spent some number of hours getting that in your Minecraft game, and then suddenly, oh, I guess this is all we get for it. So, what am I saying here in this video? I'm saying you can use your TNT much more efficiently than that by giving it some space between it. So yeah, the first point here is try and get some spacing between your TNT, because two TNT blocks next to each other will pretty much do the same thing. You want them to explode in very different places, and an easy way you can do that is with spacing. So yeah, here's 20 TNT, 1/5 as many as we just had before, and let me show you how with just a little bit of spacing, not even too much, wow, that went flying, but with just a little bit of spacing here, not even a radical amount, we can get so much more done. So again, first of all, bear in mind that we've got a pretty much the same size hole. I think a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit smaller, but it's pretty much the same size hole with 1/5 of the TNT done. But then also, because they were spaced out, some of them went flying. Like some bits of TNT exploded other bits of TNT into the air and caused some pretty cool things to happen, like this hole over here, like this hole over here. And basically it meant that lots more damage was done than, otherwise could have been done with 1/5 of the TNT. However, this isn't where the tips stop. It's not as simple as space out your TNT, because I think that's something that's roughly easy to gather. Like, not everyone does it. Most people do still place TNT like this, but what I'm saying is if you're in survival, space them out. I mean, if you're in creative, sometimes it is faster to be like, oh, rather than having an entire block, why not have a little space between the blocks like that, for instance. But also, another thing to keep in mind is that when you explode a TNT on the surface, so if we explode one block like this, we're kind of wasting half of the blast. So even if we space it out and all that sort of stuff, one TNT is still half wasted because, as you can see, this got exploded down below it, but the area above it isn't going to be exploded because it's air. You can't explode air. It's not doing anything valuable, right? So yeah, basically the next tip here, the second tip, is that if you place it into the ground a little bit, you can make use of a solid 60 to 70 to 80% off your TNT as opposed to just a single block of it. So yeah, as you can see right here, I've got some TNT, I've got loads of TNT in the ground, and this is just a stack of TNT 20 blocks down, going all the way down like that, and because they're in the ground surrounded by the thing they're destroying, you're going to see just how much damage is done by comparison, and although it's not a wide blast range, you can see this is quite a lot more damage than you could do, again, with the 100 TNT on the surface, because it's dug into the ground. And then the next tip here is to kind of combine the two steps together, because, again, that was really condensed TNT, just happened to be in the ground, that was TNT that was spaced out. What if we combine those two thoughts together? So here is some spaced out TNT that's also in the ground. I mean, it's not that spaced out, but trust me, there's 10 blocks on the surface, 10 blocks just kind of spaced below the ground, kind of like landmines, and look at the kind of effect this has, because I find it to be very, very interesting personally, because again, you might figure that, oh, well, it's so close together, it's not going to do too much, but just look at the way it expands and explodes, and even though we missed 2 of them, which is a risk you've got with this, even though we missed 2 of the blocks, you can see just how much, like total explosive area was done by this thing, and it's actually pretty cool, right? So yeah, that is a TNT pro tip. Try and separate them. Pro tip, try and get most of the blast radius in there, and then you can do much more damage with the same amount of TNT. So if you're mining to be lazy, that's a good way to do it. And another tip I'd recommend is if you are mining down, like I just did over there, try and do it like this. Have a block of dirt, then a block of TNT, then a block of dirt, etc. That's a better way to do things. And also, keep in mind that you can do this strategy, like I did over here. Again, I really love the way this looks. I've done it many, many times before, and I would recommend doing it like time and time again, because 60 blocks of TNT, or even less, like every other block, so 30 30 blocks of TNT, sorry about the noise, 30 blocks of TNT can get you all the way down to like bedrock in this really cool looking tunnel, I think. So yeah, that's a thing that you can do by making a giant, by having spacing like this and trying to go down as far as you can. But it also works going sideways. So yeah, basically if you want to go sideways, you can place, you know, again, if you want to make a giant hole in the mountain because you want to have a tunnel for it, guess what? Easy way to do it is have a long series of TNT, and then you can have the exact same thing happen where you're making... Every now and then a block of TNT goes flying in a really strange way. But yeah, just like that, you can see we've made this giant tunnel through there, and all it took was something like 30 or 40 TNT, and that's the best use of TNT. And even then, that was if I did an entire strip. You could use 20 or 30 TNT and get a similar thing, not quite as good done, and that's the kind of amazing strength of TNT. That's where you want to be using it, ideally to be blowing through dirt instead of stone, ideally to be spaced out, but also ideally to be surrounded by blocks it's destroying. The more blocks it's surrounded by, the more damage it can do, and the more value you're getting out of each of your, again, either time spent to create it and resources spent to create it in survival, or the time spent to place it in creative, because placing TNT is a lot of effort. So yeah, next up, let's talk about the kind of, the coup d'etat here, not the coup, that's something else, but let's talk about the kind of, the final part of this video, which is to do with blowing up something, you know, there's something you really want to blow up, and you want to blow it up in a significant way. Most people will try and go the over-top route of like, oh yeah, let's have, you know, here you can see, it's an entirely filled NPC village building, maybe throw some on the outside too, and you might think, yeah, this is the best way to do it. Cover it in TNT, and then make the thing happen that way. But bear in mind, if you want to have a spectacular explosion, and you want the explosion to be efficient, this is just such a waste of time. Just covering in TNT, it's nice, but it's not going to make a bigger explosion, it's just going to make more TNT explode. So yeah, what is the better way to do it? Well, the rest of the village, you might notice, is a bit more subtle about it. Like, there's just a few bits of TNT dotted here and there in the buildings, and you know, sometimes not below, but like in the ceiling, sometimes like, for instance, replacing water. That's a really good tip. Sometimes it's like behind trees. Basically, it's trying to hide all the TNT, so it doesn't look like it's going to be a big explosion, and then it can surprise people. So yeah, basically, this is, here's my pro tip. If you want to make a grand, spectacular, giant explosion, what I'm going to recommend is try and keep it subtle, because then the explosion's more surprising, whereas that, we know that's going to be destroyed when it's gone. But what about the, you know, the church? I reckon, you know, there's only a few blocks TNT in there. I bet most of the church will survive, for instance, or the well or something. And that's why I recommend being kind of subtle about it, because then when it does explode, it's a lot more interesting. But yeah, next let's talk about how you should detonate this, because again, you want to make bigger, more impressive explosions. So there's two ways to start the explosion. I think the way that's, you know, actually explosion-based is to do this. So we grab ourselves a redstone torch or something along those lines, and we want to detonate rows 3 like this. As you can see, when you have a TNT next to 2 other TNT, it launches them in both directions, and you can start a, you know, explosion from a distance. It's also a pretty effective way to make a hole. But yeah, basically, that's how we could start it one way. But the other more interesting way, in my opinion, is to have a timer or a detonator or a fuse, or in this case, because we're burning, or we're exploding a acacia village. The acacia village is made from lots and lots of wood, so what would happen if we maybe set the village on fire and let the fire do the work? So yeah, I have this little contraption here, very simple redstone. It's just like, it's just an infinite looper into some fire charges, and we're going to like set off the like machine gun of fire, and that's how we're going to make this happen. So first of all, it's really cool to see this machine go, like, whoa, that's a lot of fire charges being fired. I really want to make a whole video on this at some point, like when there's something that goes into that, because I have so much fun playing around with the flamethrower. But second of all, you're going to see how eventually that does start a fire, and it's a very, very it's a very, very, very like an interesting start to the thing. And then not only that, but when the explosions are done, which as you can see, destroyed the entire village. Interestingly, everything in the village besides the obnoxiously covered house, so maybe that proves the point. But then also, as well as that, you can see the fire is going to last afterwards, and it just makes the destruction that much more ridiculous and deadly. So yeah, for the most part, the village is gone now. I mean, there's a few blocks left in the well. There's a few blocks left in the ceiling of 3 houses, which, by the way, now are going to burn down. And the final interesting point is the fact that if you place too much TNT, and you have it in places that can't necessarily explode, then you create problems where it looks worse when it's finished. Like, I think this crater right here is a much better, more impressive, destructive explosion than this block right over here. So, yeah, just as a fun fact before we end today's video, all of the village from this point onwards, so again, past the crop planters and the obnoxious house, was about 100 TNT to achieve this much. Again, look how destroyed this village is, as opposed to this much. So there's a life lesson in there, or I mean, the whole video is a lesson, but there's a lesson about TNT, and I hope it did all help you out. So just remember, the lesson I kind of mentioned in the beginning is like sometimes there is smarter ways to work that can cancel out ways that are faster. You know, it's better to spend what is this, like 9 minutes learning about TNT, that, you know, and then, you know, spend an hour placing it, then spend 2 hours placing it, but not really knowing how to do so. So maybe that's what you'll do at the end of this video, or maybe you didn't really care about any of that, you just wanted to see a village get destroyed and see this guy get homeless. I don't know, either way, I hope you did all enjoy the video. Like if you liked it, share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.